The track here is Thunder Rolls from Final Fantasy XIV, the Ramu theme. Holy fuck, when I first saw this track in the game, I was a bit like, I'm not sure about this one. But then I listened to it alone, without the battle, without obviously the pressure of being a sprout, and it just hits different. It's actually really fucking good. It's probably one of the best tracks in the game, period. One of my favourite tracks, and what makes it so good is it just feels so emotional and ethereal, I guess is the term. It's crazy how the melody kicks in with the voice. Like all the lyrics, I remember the lyrics. Thunder Rolls, FFXIV, the lyrics. Full transcript of the lyrics were posted. Without many da to allow all. Yeah. Tela omi nida tela I. Ona ramu da teme os. Adrian starting. Nola tumula tala I. That's the beginning, isn't it? I can't remember. Yeah, the melody just works so well with the type of track it is, and then the synths kick in, and it's just like, oh my god, I am CUMMING in my ear. Wait, what? Anyway, I think it's just an amazing track because of how heavy it feels. That's the main thing of it. And whenever you hear this, it's just like, wow. You're taken back and you're drawn into this fucking story, and on top of that, it's not just this section repeating constantly. You've got an entire like sort of jazzy synth bit, which is actually kind of crazy. It's sort of like a key change, I think. I forgot what part it's called, but it's again incredible. I was very surprised to hear that. So when it goes from one note to another key. I'm not sure what key it is because again, I'm not a good musician. Not a musician at all. And then it goes into this sort of more intense sort of, I guess, not breakdown, but just part with instruments, heavy parts. I do find it very fun to listen to that. And then it goes straight back into the melody. Yeah. Oh, this track is goated. It gives me chills and so it brings a tear to my eye. Although I haven't heard a track like this, I don't think, in my life, ever. That's how incredible and unique it is. It's so fucking good. And I think even if you don't like Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy XIV for that matter, just listen to it. Like, holy shit. It's just incredible. So, I've actually cut out the life tip I had here. I've replaced it with something else, which is sort of similar in a way. It's not the same though. Simply be productive. I think one of the problems with a lot of people nowadays is there's not enough attention span to essentially do things, and if you're ADHD this is easier to do, admittedly. But try and incorporate more hobbies into your life. If you're a big TV watcher, you should probably include things like doing artwork or even practicing guitar, like an instrument. And I think that's really important to do because it gives you room to improve and even get some new hobbies in your life essentially, so that you can have something to do later on. And it also gives you something to work towards as well. Because you never know, you might have hidden talent, hidden ability there that you don't know of. Practicing these hobbies can probably show you that. It's definitely possible, and I think it's very useful to have that. And the places where you can specifically apply this, I suppose, are something like TV watching, as I said. But even something like certain types of games, you could probably do that. I know I used to do that a lot when I was playing Overwatch competitive, between queues and even just deaths in general in that game. I just alt tab into my guitar tabs and just writing it. I just start writing stuff. That's how I ended up with some of the covers I made back really early on, and it's been pretty useful for learning that. With stuff that's more focus heavy though, like sometimes you have to do the flip side of it, I guess, of flipping it around. So if you're doing something focus heavy like artwork, where you do need like a few senses at once, you can still hear things and you can still technically visually see things as well if you have the right setup. I know with my artwork, I'm able to basically look at 2 screens at once, and it's not a hard skill to learn, but I definitely learned it in under a year, I'd say, practicing artwork. And it's been very useful for me because it allows me to multitask. So I'm doing artwork, learning that, and trying to watch some TV or movies, whatever it may be. Actually, I think, fun fact, I'm pretty sure I watched Dark whilst doing artwork, and I still figured out what Dark was about. I knew from the first episodes what was going on, whereas sometimes people can't figure that out. It's kind of what this can do to you, I suppose. If you focus on one thing, you can also focus on another. Yeah, it's quite a useful trick, really useful tip as well. It really depends on what side of, I guess, the spectrum you're on. I do recommend trying this out. It's certainly good to put time into these things and, again, be productive. You know, when I'm in the kitchen cooking, I don't do it in silence, I used to. But I think with the silence, I'd go insane. Because I wouldn't be able to stand that. But now I have something like a Twitch stream or YouTube or music playing whilst I do it. And that's honestly been great for me. I wouldn't say it's a lifesaver, but it's been very helpful. It certainly gets me more inspired and more hardworking in that sense. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Yeah, let's move on to the first topic. I'm not sure if this needs to be discussed or what, but I think at this point in the game it needs to. So what a topic to start with, Final Fantasy XIV Addons. I remember back when Endwalker was current, and it was just in its peak in terms of the game. However, I was not playing the game. I didn't like it. I just started a Realm Reborn and I didn't like the MSQ, it seemed boring as fuck. I just didn't get on with it. And then a few years later I decided, you know what, I'm going to give this another try because people say it's really good. And I gave it another try and you know what, it got better. The story quests got better as it went along. It had more twists and turns, it had more dialogue and characters. It certainly was finding its, just its roots, I guess. Yeah, the makings of something beautiful and amazing. And that was surprising to me. Definitely caused me a bit of a shock because I was thinking like, Jesus Christ, I wasted my time. I did it playing another fucking game. Which I'm pretty sure it's just like random games at that point. It's like Genshin Impact, but then something like Mel Hill, Singer of Sight. I was going in between games at that time. So yeah, I ended up not playing that and it kind of sucked. But it just got me thinking about this discussion that happened quite a few years ago, and it was when I used to watch Belliet Gaming, but at this point, dead channel to me. Like, even the Warcraft channel is just dead to me. It's like, I'll be honest, they're not a very reliable channel. They go all in on production and not really their opinion pieces or anything. It just kind of sucks. But there was this discussion that interested me, which, having been a World of Warcraft player, relying on add-ons solely to play the game, is about add-ons in Final Fantasy XIV, if I'm not mistaken anyway. It might have been Preach Gaming, but again, another scenario where I used to watch. Yeah, I just drop off channels for different reasons, one way or another. I think the main thing with Preach Gaming is like, the guy's a fucking farmer, I think. Like an animal farmer, which is just... Yeah, that's a bit of a red flag, to be honest. Like, farmers in real life just tend not to be the nicest people. The weird thing with farming, like, you could watch any sort of documentary on this, but the fundamental point, when you're saying things like you treat your family like you treat your animals and then you kill the fucking animals, it's like, okay, you're not very trustworthy then. I have no reason to listen to you. So, fuck that. Anyway, I could have heard it wrong, but that's just what made me turn off, but that's besides the point. I wanted to talk about add-ons in Final Fantasy XIV. And add-ons were quite an interesting topic because people were believing and saying that Final Fantasy XIV had no reason to have add-ons. Or plugins or like mods, like whatever you call it at this point. Some quality of life, like let's say World of Warcraft's Cell Junk system. Like yeah, that was a very useful system to have because it cleaned your inventory and it's probably the only add-on you ever actually needed. And it just improved the game so much. But if you had something like that here in Final Fantasy XIV, apparently you are liable for a ban. Which is just fucking ridiculous. If your game has this problem, then why the hell are you even having junk items to begin with? Like, World of Warcraft shouldn't have any, technically speaking, but why the hell are you even having that? But why is there even junk? And then why are you not even addressing it? It just doesn't make much sense. So that shit naturally confuses me, because I do not understand the reasoning here. There is no reasoning. So that's already a bad way to start the argument in terms of add-ons. For some reason my hand is like crusty. I don't know what's going on there. It's just all around my left hand. I don't know what the fuck's happened there. Skin coming off or something? I can't tell. That's weird. I only noticed that a few minutes ago. Yeah, but add-ons, they provide things that the game isn't providing, which I think is the most important argument to make here, and it is usually the argument that justifies it. Like, add-ons add so much to the game that, again, not necessarily others are doing, like in Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, for example. I'm not afraid to admit this now. I'm no longer playing, but I used to use things like camera to scan my inventory to pick out the best loadouts possible and basically enjoy the game with the highest DPS output that it could be. And like, that's pretty much the primary reason I used that. It improved the game. And it was a great quality of life thing to have, because you just put your thingy, or whatever the file I made, into what is it? Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. There's like this GitHub thing, I think it was, where you just put it in, and no, it wasn't GitHub. No, it's just a standalone site. But you put this file in, and it scans your inventory for best artifacts and all that. You just calculate it, and like 90% of the time it worked, 10% of the time it didn't. But when it did work, it was something beautiful because it improved DPS. Like, it fixed my Garnu and Genshin Impact. It fixed low DPS outputs. I think it even fixed Arlecchino when I was doing Arlecchino building and stuff, and it just pretty much optimized it. But if you ban something like that in a game where you're already gambling with money, like on character power for that matter, then I think there's a problem with the game. I don't think it's really a good fucking idea. yeah, I just do not comprehend why anyone would ever want to ban add-ons in a situation like that, where you're already gambling with money. Because player power was quite an important thing in Genshin Impact. You relied on it to get around, you relied on it to beat certain content. And because of that sort of fine-tuning that you need to do for it, you were forced to do it. So even with the risk of a ban, which I full well knew could happen, it hasn't. In the 3+ years I was using it, I had to risk it. I put a lot of money in this game. And if I'm being banned for fucking a basic thing, what are you doing? And their in-game one is useless, by the way. It doesn't even compare anything close to the way I forgot what it's called, but I call it like the camera input website did. But that's just an example of where add-ons are useful, and it could be also useful in Final Fantasy XIV's case, although you can just use icy veins. Still, something like that just at the tip of your fingers is kind of handy and convenient. But I think it's really important to also acknowledge that the game has some very incomplete features. You know, I was thinking the other day, one of the things that I'd really want to have to avoid like player congestion in A trains and stuff, in obviously Dawn Trail or whatever place it is, any S rank, A ranks rather. I think it's really important to have that option to get a teleport off as quickly as possible. So one of the add-ons I'm thinking of is when it comes to like teleporting, I think there should be an add-on to allow you to basically automatically teleport. Although it's technically cheating, that's a problem the game has created, and until they fix player congestion, as far as I am aware, that is justified to use. Even if it is technically cheating. Like, you've already fucked your game with a terrible backend, so why? There's just no reason to outright ban something that does that. You're creating this scarcity and then you're punishing people for solving the problem. It just doesn't make sense. It's the same with Genshin Impact, when people are, I think, using add-ons to find out where collectibles were on the map. And it's like, well, you realise that you've already got a shit system where players were making an interactive map just because you weren't making one yourself, and then they made one themselves and it wasn't even that good, and so people kept using the alternative because the official map, interactive map for that matter, was terrible. It wasn't in game, but it would have been useful, and players were misusing it in the official one, putting the wrong fucking notes there, putting random notes there. I remember so much misinformation from that, and also they kept resetting it. So it was already causing these, like, just tons of issues that didn't need to exist. So as a result, players were just fed up. And that's why you have the case where players were trying to inject their game with an add-on or a mod to see where everything fucking was. It's not surprising, and then people who are fed up of the way HYPERSKY treated them were just cheating anyway, because they just didn't like the gaming state. And I don't blame them. I've seen people mod the fuck out of the game after the fact. But some of the mods are funny, and some are actually quite cool. Like, I think there are some that allow you to unlock characters that you wouldn't previously have had. But I prefer that. It sort of reminds me of like GTA Online. I used to use a menu for that, because I was just fed up with the state of the game. It was punishing me for playing, and I just wasn't enjoying it. It's too grindy. So yeah, like, fuck that. And I took on whatever bans I got on that game. There was seriously no point. It's just so much frustration. Yeah. So when you make a game that's as compromised, and the same here with like Genshin, Final Fantasy XIV, I mean, like the fact that you can't see certain quests in other zones. So if you're obviously watching the screen, you can see there's maybe find a different place. Still got some in another place. Like, okay, you can see the ones that you just accepted, but not the others. God, where am I going? I'm trying to find a place where there's still quests. No, I can't find anything. I've pretty much done them, so maybe. Oh yeah, this might be. Why the fuck is it disappearing? Shroud. So I want to go. Don't know, there's some in East Shroud, potentially, yeah. But you can't see them. So an add-on that shows you that is extremely useful. It saves having to teleport there, wasting your tickets or gil, whatever you use for it. It's just, it's more point in that than, because the developers are not adding something, they're not changing this. So again, you create these problems for people to solve. Now sometimes you have an accessibility issue in areas where certain things can only be done in a certain way, like doing ventures, for example. When you're doing that with your retainer, I'd fucking love an add-on that just auto-accepts and redispatches them. That would be so useful for my morning routine, because it cuts about 2 minutes of my time and it allows me to get on with something else in that time. Like I could be organising my inventory, I could be just starting another quest or something, like anything. But the way it currently stands, because they don't do that, it feels so fucking incomplete. And that's I suppose the other thing is, it's like completing a game with features it should already have. Like the command panel, for example, which only was just added. I don't doubt that there was probably add-ons for that, because players were just fucking fed up. They just didn't want to deal with that crap. Having a cluttered hotbar, you know, you don't need to. So it doesn't surprise me. So once again, I do not understand why there is this hatred of add-ons. I guess for things like in World of Warcraft, they had what was it, weak auras, boss DBM, was it? I can't remember. Pretty sure it was DBM, but it was like played the game for you in a sense. It told you what to do. You didn't have to memorise mechanics. And whilst it's all well and good in terms of accessibility, I think it does have its benefits and also downsides. I think the only players who should be able to use it are those actually struggling with a boss. Like if they're constantly wiping and dying, even after like the 5th attempt, then there should be something there that again holds your hand. It should be an optional feature as well, so players can literally turn it on and off. I feel like this could have been useful for things like just normal content really. Savage Raids I'm not sure about. I haven't really done any. I've only done P4S and PAS and then Addons ones, but they're easy unsynced. But there aren't really any excuses for not having these things, especially when you're new to content. The thing is, you're not even told what the mechanics are on the boss, so you sometimes have to just cheat for it. You have to look at a guide, you have to spawn yourself. It's just really inconvenient. Again, it's creating these problems that you just need to solve. And that's kind of what add-ons do. That's why they exist. So once again, I don't understand the side of the argument that is against it. Especially when the side that's against it is essentially trying to take away very reasonable accessibility and quality of life and pretend that it doesn't matter. It's just not helpful to anyone. It's just going to tear the community apart, as it already sort of has. And even then, players will just find ways to get like a visual add-on, like an overlay, and have that play the game for them. Which is what camera is, by the way, in Genshin Impact, if I'm wondering. So again, it's like really inconvenient features or lack thereof, and players just needing to solve it. Just out of necessity. I don't really know what to add. You know, that's the situation here. Anyway, better move on. Throat setting. So, weird fact about me. I don't know if many people know this, but I literally don't use use masculine smelling products anymore, ever really. And this really started a few years ago when I discovered that titanium in deodorants were causing me to have some severe reactions, or not severe, but enough that I was in great discomfort. It was terrible because it was causing my lungs to feel like they shrunk, and I was coughing all the fucking time. And the smells from them are often so strong that I get a headache and I literally can't breathe. That's why I never used to go into the changing room as a kid. I never wanted to do that, on top of just exposing my body, which I wasn't comfortable with, so I was a fat kid. But the smell was the other problem, so I never went in there, and eventually they allowed me to just do everything in my uniform, or just wait until everyone else is finished in there and then I could get changed, but I decided to stay in my uniform. And I'm pretty fucking lucky to have that, I think, have that situation. You know, it's a big deal really when you at least have people looking out for you at school, because I know not many people have had that luxury, which sucks. It's still good anyway. But ever since then I've been a bit like sort of on the fence about just smelly things in general. Like I can't even handle perfume, that's how bad it is. And perfume's probably a bit less potent. Like just looking at it anyway. So there's some weird things happening in this game today. Again, what does it keep happening when I want to talk? About me. Yeah, so around 7 years ago maybe, when I was getting deodorants and body spray for Christmases and birthdays, because well, a lot of people get that as a gift, I was kind of thinking like, yeah, I don't actually like these, and even then when I do apply them they don't really do much, so it's kind of pointless in that sense. And I started to look for alternatives, and when I became vegan in January again, 2020, it's like midway through January, I was looking into like the alternative products, and the sprays that they had were like non-titanium, was it? Or was it aluminum? I can't remember which one it was. But they had like non-aluminum / titanium ones, and that was good for me, because it's hard to find any. But that sort of led me on the journey of discovering things don't always have to be like sort of the gender that you associate it with, or even just, again, masculinity versus femininity, or just lack thereof. And probably lack thereof type. And this also came in the form of things like shower gels and shampoos, which as well were a bit overwhelming. I started with original source, and then eventually I discovered newer ones. I discovered bath soaks and stuff, and they're more tolerable than anything else that I've used at that point. And I just use natural flavours instead to completely change the way I smell, rather than trying to appear, again, masculine or feminine or anything. I just go with smells that I like, and one of my favourite sort of smells is actually rose. And I've used sort of rose products for quite a while, but I'm happy to use others. I've tried cedarwood. I like cedarwood, like armpit balm. I don't know what we call it actually, or deodorant balm, whatever you fucking call it. I use that, and that's good for me. I like that smell. There are others that aren't so good. I've used an orange one that does make it smell a bit weird. It smells like cum for some reason. That's what's going on there. That's a bit weird to me. It's like orange and bergamot, not orange. I've definitely used others over the years, like coconut and stuff, and really the strongest ones are like balms. They're the only ones that work, and roll-ons for that matter. Some roll-ons do work anyway, some don't. But ever since that point, I've just sort of leaned more towards that. And honestly, it's done a lot of good for me, I think. The only issue I've encountered is with at least some shampoos and shower gels, whatever it is. I do encounter an issue where I get like an allergic reaction. I'm not sure how, because I don't really have allergies. That's a bit weird to me. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. I've never seen that Gemini before. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. Not sure what's hard really. Even with soaps I have to be careful as well. I don't really like the strong soaps, like aloe vera is for some reason pretty strong. But I've also got this one on the bone that's quite strong and I want to change it because it's a weird fucking smell. I don't really go in natural soaps, but I think I will next time because as long as it's antibacterial, I only need one that does the bare minimum, not really a massive amount. Obviously, get rid of shit on my hands, even though it's not really any, because I always wipe properly. But yeah, it just needs to deal with that. And there isn't really much to ask for in regards to what I want in a soap. I've got refillables as well, that's one of the things. A lot of people don't really consider that, but the smells just impact my environment quite a lot. And there isn't really much I can do about it. You know, if it's strong, I start to choke. That's what happens with the soaps I have. It's just hard to sort of breathe with that. That's still a struggle. Like I need low, I don't know what you call it, low smell, low impact. Like how do you even fucking measure smell? Like low potency, I guess, is probably the term. The term I'd use at least. Yeah, as I said, it is a struggle. And it does feel a bit despairing at times because people just don't seem to understand that. They go out and wear fucking perfumes, and I even see people walk past me every now and then when I'm out, and they just reek of body spray. Like, it's often the men that smell of this. But Jesus Christ, it is way too fucking strong. It's just overwhelming. It makes these environments unsafe. I think something does need to be done about it. Not sure what exactly, because I'm not really the expert in that area. Not a potencyist. Potencyist? I don't know. Yeah, it's just another random topic, really. Not really much else to add on to that. Oh, yeah, even like the shampoo that I just used today, some argan oil. It smells very feminine. I will say I've smelt it before. I know this exact smell, but yeah, it's just stuck on my hat. Literally, it won't fucking go away. I just smell it constantly. As much as I don't mind like potent stuff, like at least somewhere not too far from me, if it's like going to constantly do that, it's like, it's a waste. I don't really want to use it. I'm a bit unsure about this one because even though it's good, it's definitely a nice smell, it's very fucking strong. And it's even making me choke smelling it. So yeah, another insight into a lot of sensory issues and just sensitivity in general. But I suppose it goes into a, really enough, political discussion. I guess some people might wonder why the fuck am I wearing florally smells, even though I'm a masculine person. Well, I think I'm trans non-binary. I think it goes without saying. I'm not really transitioning properly, but I do think I have traits where I am sort of non-binary. I don't follow the rules of masculinity, what? Masculinity or femininity. You know, just go into both. I could tear up at a scene, like in a TV show or something, but I can also get really angry. I can also get really, not violent, that's not the right term. And I could just go down that route of, oh yeah, fuck that guy in this movie. Or even just do some brave or courageous things. That's something I do, or try to do anyway. It's better to try than, well, yeah, I don't really fit the category of binary. I think that's pretty much obvious. So yeah, I think I'll take the they them pronouns, but I'll just go with any. I don't really give a shit. Like, see me in a bar, see me get pissed off, and you see me walk out and you say, what's our problem? Exactly. What's my problem? Nothing at all. So the Rocksmith Plus bullshit continues. And it's just been frustrating consistently. So Ubisoft Connect decided not to launch properly. It started saying, oh, we can't connect you. You have to restart the program. So I did, and it worked, but I went to Rocksmith and it asked me to retry consistently. Retry because it won't connect. Whatever the fuck that means. I don't know. It won't tell me what I disconnected from, how it disconnected, or what. Like, nothing. It's so fucking vague. And then, for some reason, I was able to get into the game and play. But the first issue I noticed was I got a note detection issue, which nothing could fix. And this note detection issue basically meant that I was struggling to hit the right note. And when I was playing like a chord, I played a Django Reinhardt song first. Not first, it was actually a Spanish song. Wait, was it? Wait, hang on. I was playing other songs first, but then I got to Django Reinhardt, that's what happened. And it's fucking didn't register a single note, like a single chord. It was playing through the system, obviously, like the game, but it wasn't playing the fuck, like, it wasn't registering, that's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't registering the fucking chord, like any of the chords. I was playing it correctly, I made sure I had the fingering of it, and it just wasn't working. I don't know what was going on there, because you have to like hold down your index finger over the strings so that it will successfully play the notes in that chord, because it requires that. There's also your index finger. Is it index or middle finger? Middle finger. I don't know how I got this confused up. And then the ring finger doing the, obviously, the root note part of the chord, not root note. I forgot what it's called. It's part of a power chord, I guess. But yeah, I was doing that, and for some reason, it just wasn't registering it at all. So that was bizarre. But then things got worse as I started the first few songs, not this one. It started disconnecting me. Mid-song. Mid-fucking song. Like, just a reminder, I'm paying over £33 for this. For 3 months. And it's disconnecting me. Like, what the fuck is this? Just why? As a fact, this has been happening since yesterday as well. It's just insane to me. It can't be a server issue. It literally has to be a game issue, because I don't see how they could have not fixed that by now. What the fuck is going on? So I reported this to the Rocksmith Reddit because I have no other choice. The responses are just as fucking useless and elitist as they usually are. So look at the first one. I'm level 800 plus, and I've never had any of these issues. Lol. What? Like, how? Seriously, what the fuck? It just makes no sense. I don't even know how much level 800 plus is. And if you've never had these issues, then why the fuck are you telling me? You're not here to provide support. Literally, my post says, please fix this. It's not even addressing someone like you who probably can't fix it. So fuck off. Like, why are you saying that? And then I've got the second one, which is definitely more useful, but half useful. The server issue has been happening for the last day or so. Will be hopefully fixed soon. These things happen. Again, I don't know. It could be a server issue, but I'm not convinced it is. I honestly think it's a game issue. Because you shouldn't be getting these issues as well. You shouldn't be interrupted for it when you're fucking paying for it. Like, piss off. That's stupid. And then the second part of this comment, the note detection is not an issue. It's you. Note detection in Rocksmith Plus is more demanding. You will adjust. Nope. Note detection never used to be an issue in Rocksmith Plus when I first tried it. It was a bit more demanding in the sense that you need to strike it at the correct timing, but that's all I noticed. But when I was playing again Django Reinhardt, it literally asked me to... Well, it wasn't asking me, it was just saying I missed every single fucking chord, even though some registered. I was playing the right chord, clearly, and it just chose not to register some of them. So something's going on there. It's nothing to do with my playing style, because I also tested this on a Spanish song after. Because that was the next song on the list anyway, so I might as well, and I sort of enjoyed playing it. But it wasn't a complete song in my opinion. But it had these like harmony chords. I could play them right now, I think. I guess like, so like this. Something like that. It's like just two notes, like this, and this, and this one. So that's all it was playing, and guess what? It didn't fucking register. So I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck is going on? How is this even allowed? Like, you can't have looked at this, tested it, and thought, yeah, that's good. This is just straight up fucking stupid. Like, I'm playing these notes properly. What are you on about? Why is it not registering? I seriously do not understand it. Just what a load of fucking bullshit. I got a third comment only recently, just quoting what I said. Like, I said, please fix this. Someone replies, okay, sorry, I'm on it. I don't know if this is even a fucking developer because I've read its shitty interface. I don't even know. I doubt this fucking user is going to fix it for some reason. As if Reddit isn't already full of enough fucking losers and liars. And then the next thing it responded to, there's no way I'm paying for this, I said. Then it got responded to with, please don't say it like that. What do you fucking expect? If you're offering a crappy, inferior service to the previous game, which is superior by the way, what do you expect me to fucking say? Like, oh, I love this fucking Rocksmith Plus, it disconnects me every time, la 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 la, we're all happy. And we all had sex in the end. I know. That's not my fucking experience. Like, I'm gonna have a fucking stroke at this point. Just burn out and then stress, and then it's just fucking useless comments. Are you kidding me? That's how bad the state of Rocksmith Plus is. There's no wonder it's probably being fucking DDoSed at the moment. Like, it's so stupid. It's not surprising as well, like the fact they haven't even optimized the system to download the content that you're playing, to have it localized so you don't have a disconnect issue. Like, that alone demonstrates that the game is so fucking inferior that it's just pointless. Like, how the hell am I supposed to learn anything like this? It makes no fucking sense. It's so bad. But if it is downloaded locally, why the hell are you contacting me about a connection issue? Why? Like, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? You've got the ability to make like temp files, haven't you? That's pretty much what it is. You know, a live service is literally a bunch of temp files. So you can like save my progression for another time. It's so fucking bad. Jesus Christ. Well, I thought I was probably dropped on there as a baby. Well, I don't know for sure. It does feel like I have been sometimes. But some of these people, some of these developers for that matter, like, what? It's just bad. I have to say it. No normal developer looks at this and thinks, yeah, it's a good system, it's obviously working well. Because obviously it fucking isn't. It's not my experience anyway. So anyway, that's the Rocksmith Plus update. So another random topic here to my head, because I keep thinking about this. About what on earth could I do with basically the Sonic universe. Again, unfortunately. And make it sort of not only just adult themed, but just very in a way that's not really been done before. And I sort of had this realization probably months ago, when I used to, well, not months, years then, but when I used to write fanfiction myself. And it came across, at least in my opinion, as not very good for the most part. Basically the way I wrote characters, and to be honest, because it fell into that fucking trope of it goes down the romance route, I was often very quick to get to that point, and that's something that I tried to avoid when I wrote Tales as Tales, and I did achieve it, let's be honest, I did, but I didn't really feel happy with sort of how that came to be, and I was starting to wonder, what if there was a story about Cream? Because Cream Rabbit is actually my second favourite Sonic character. I think she's very underrated and very sort of unexplored in that sense. She doesn't have much in terms of like story or lore, even just screen time. That's always been like a disappointing aspect of it, of the entire series. And I just wondered about what I could do to sort of make a story where it's not only meaningful and sort of adult themed, it's also just, it's based around Cream and basically her findings and stories in the world and stuff. Like, it's just to do with that. It's just a really interesting idea. But I think I might explore that. You know, I think maybe when I get into my burnout state again, I'll start exploring the idea of, again, a masculine Cream story, but it won't take place in Tales as Tales. But I'm going to put some ideas there that people may or may not agree with, but it depends really. Because my idea of masculinity isn't like the big buff person or someone who's just hard-skinned. Rather, it's someone who's brave and can exhibit, or even just tolerate pain, for example, but someone who's just brave and courageous and empathetic and willing to go against the norms just to achieve it. And I think those all contribute to it and make it an interesting gimmick, for lack of a better term. I think with Cream as well, there's so much potential in that. I always like the kindness aspect of her character. I remember in at least the games, I'm not sure about series, is this? She only appeared in Sonic X, from what I remember. But she always sort of spoke polite, and that was a unique aspect to her that made me fall in love with her, to be honest. Because I'd never seen a character quite like her. It's like, there's no character like this out there. And people really don't give her enough credit, because there isn't a character like that. Like, where do you hear someone being that polite and that gentle, for that matter? You don't. That's why it's so sad that she didn't get a proper story. And also the fact she has her own mother as well when nobody else does. Also gives an interesting twist, because you might wonder, like, oh, well, what does she think of everyone else? They don't have parents, and what do they think of her? There's all sorts of things to explore in this, and I'm just going to have to write down some ideas and some key points in this, I think, just to start with. But I do kind of look forward to exploring that idea. A masculine version of Cream from her POV, and going against norms, even like what her mother told her. There's sort of that interesting twist, and like how she met like chows and cheese and stuff. It's just a bunch of different things, different ideas floating in my head, as usually happens with this sort of thing. That's mainly how I write fanfiction anyway. It just comes from an idea that I have in my head or a lived experience. It's just things like that. And yeah, I find it can be either really interesting, entertaining, or just really wholesome or meaningful. And that's kind of the point, and I'd hope one day, because I don't think sometimes fanfiction gets enough credit, I hope someday that can inspire people, if not directly to hard work or just being adopted as a idea or series, but just being put into something else. I could easily change the characters, change every scenario, but have most things the same, if not similar. And I think in this series I won't have any parents in that. So it's kind of like, you got this aspect where, I guess it's probably only really Tails, but Sonic has already sort of coming to terms with it. There's so many different fucking ways to do it. Like, it's just so, again, unexplored. And yet, you have a character with the perspective to potentially change that. Cream can learn from someone else about how they coped and share that with another person. The way we do it anyway. The way humans do it. And that could definitely inspire people and probably change them as well. Anyway, it's just a random idea. Just finished day 5.7 Archon quest and story quest, so I'll go through the Archon quest first. I also watched it, didn't play it, didn't want to play it. I watched Dory play the Archon quest, and it's kind of interesting. New Paimon sounds great. I didn't realise she was a recast at first. That's how similar they are. Less of that sort of high pitch, I guess, screeching. I don't know the correct term for it. It's definitely a more sort of toned down Paimon, I will say. It's quite noticeable as well. So I quite like that. That's obviously one of the first good things. I wonder why the other one disappeared. Anyway, the key to the hibernation chamber, it's obviously spoilers, on the spaceship is crazy. Like, what the fuck? Didn't expect that. I sort of knew that the Traveller was sort of involved in something out of space, and I did even see a little video by, oh god, I keep butchering her name every time, Akisahi? I can't remember. But you probably know what I'm talking about, because the same letters in the name. But I think she speculated that the skies being fake essentially alluded to there being something else out there. And it seems to be linked to possibly Honkai Impact, all things. So it's like a interdimensional sort of thing going on there. It's just kind of crazy. So yeah, that was insane. The mysterious girl was an interesting twist. Makes me wonder if you choose Damien, is it a guy instead? It seems very woke so far with the, saviors have to be a specific gender now. Brilliant. Yeah, I like when the localization team do that. Because I know that the Chinese version wouldn't. Fuck, they'd have their headquarters burned down. I remember the things with like Linny and stuff, all the Linny and that. And Linny being a pretty feminine male character obviously triggered some people for some fucking reason, even though it doesn't do anything to you, it doesn't do anything to the game. It makes no sense. So, Jesus Christ, how stupid. Anyway, further on, I noticed the two stars blinking at the same time in the stargazing scene. Thought that was an interesting detail. Daisy, unexpectedly briefly playable version of him. Just kind of spoiled. I didn't see what he did exactly because I was constantly distracted when I was watching this. All these damn lore drops and Daisy. That's what I wrote down. The sibling meeting in Old Connery was kind of crazy. And then there's I'm unsure why the Lord of the Night allowed it. And a sad ending. And Dora decided to keep the key. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's pretty good, I think, for an Archon quest. I remember like the Sumeru one, sort of towards the end, just sort of lacked. Was it Sumeru or was it Fontaine? I think it feels like Fontaine, but I think it's Sumeru. Don't know why. But yeah, it just sort of lacked the last time I remember going through one. Because with Dainsleif anyway, it's the Archon quest for Dainsleif, I think. I can't remember if they're ordered based on the Archon themselves or what. Like if this links back to Marika, I don't know. But I didn't mind the story, it's good. I just think that based on previous ones it could have done a lot of improvement. And they seem to have done that. Also at this point I did find a YouTube short from Dora about Alice's character to see what she looks like. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me to be honest. That she looks like another animated waifu MILF / GILF. Something like that. But she doesn't... this is a problem with the character design in Genshin Impact, so I just have in general. Why does every fucking woman have to have an hourglass figure? That's why I liked, what's her name? Kiaru, the one that released alongside Jansen. I forgot her name, she's the exercise ball girl, whoever you call her. But I liked her design because she is sort of chubby. And I thought that's an amazing twist. And also it's in line with the sort of character that she's trying to portray, which is like almost a masculine character. So that's a twist that I really liked. But the fact that Alice isn't any different to any other fucking waifu out there is just, it's insane to me. Clearly the designers have no clue what they're doing at this point. They're literally running out of ideas, and Jesus, like the next thing actually that I watched was the Skirk story quest. It's kind of obvious that Skirk was a bit kind of the skimp in that sense. Well, there wasn't much going on with her design either. It's really lacking compared to others. I think even Shenhe has more design put into a character than Skirk does. And again, it follows the fucking hourglass thing. Like, again, I do not understand this. It's so stupid to me. Like, not everything has to be a fucking hourglass figure of just a skinny guy. They could be bigger people. And I just do not understand why that isn't a thing. Anyway, let's go with the Skirk quest, which I saw played by Bran. I don't have many notes for this, but I still really enjoyed it overall. I took note of the granny walking up to you in the beginning was a cool detail. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, that. It's like they finally did something different with the cutscene. Like it was outside a cutscene actually, wasn't it? It's gameplay. I'm glad they did that because we haven't seen anything like that. Because they're not very creative at however for some reason when it comes to something like that. And they don't really implement that, which is disappointing. It's just a missed opportunity. You could just have so much fucking like a spectacle, for lack of a better term, when you do something like that. It can literally change how you view these things and how the game feels, for that matter. But they don't do that, and it wasn't until this seemingly that they just weren't doing anything else. It's just like, oh, you walk to a spot and then you engage in a cutscene. But here, I think it was, at least the one where I remember, it's like, oh, you walk there, an NPC comes up to you, out of cutscene, you're still like got your HUD and stuff, and because it's talking to you. Like, that's different. And that I can like and appreciate, because it removes this fucking black screen transition, it removes any sort of needless garbage like that. Because it is needless garbage. You need it for a cutscene, but you don't need it all the fucking time. That's something I liked about that. Anyway, back to the story though. Skirk's past is kind of sad. Parents being killed in front of her, although to be honest, is a bit sort of samey to other traumas, I guess, at this point. It seems a bit similar to other characters, I think. I can't remember who exactly, but I know there are characters in Genshin already with that sort of past. Skirk's childhood training is brutal. Yep. The training in terms of using things against a traveller to let that guard down. The dead don't get to complain, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty hard line. Interesting, Skirk doesn't want Paimon knowing about any of this, which I also found interesting. Kind of makes me wonder if Paimon is, again, like a traitor. It certainly makes me curious, like, what her whereabouts is, and given the constellations and stuff, I'd have to say she's from another planet. That's the only thing that made sense to me from the beginning. The fact she's always floating around with this outfit and these constellations, and she also sort of mimics the login screen part, and actually what we're seeing is through her eyes, it seems. Although we have had changes in that direction in terms of how stories are told, because you see other POVs now. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, Sotology is a higher being, which is interesting. Also, the fact Skirk is from another planet itself is really crazy. And yeah, that's about all the notes I have. And I said maybe they'll meet on another planet. But it's a good story quest. It's probably the best one so far that I've seen. Again, seen, not played. By the looks of it, it seemed a bit janky when Bran played it. Because there's this training bit with the Traveller you have to do for some reason, and it just seemed really janky to me. But the cutscene certainly showed him being more powerful, which is good. There's actually some power to the Traveller now in these cutscenes. I'm not sure. He's still using the prototype Rancor, I just remembered. Fuck's sake. He upgraded from Dot Blade to prototype Rancor for some reason. But yeah, they still haven't executed the Traveller perfectly well, in my opinion. It still feels like a lack of a power fantasy there. It just feels like they could do much better with that. So that's kind of a shame. I do wish that they did something different with that. Yeah, I think that's all for the 5.8. 5.8, I mean 5.7. 5.8 is the next one. Yeah, but it's good that the story's progressing now past just visiting regions. Getting like drip fed lore parts, and now we're just being given bucket loads. Which is definitely a good sign for the story. I think the writing's definitely improving a bit now, even though some of it was actually already good. It's just that we needed a jump to the right fucking place at this point. Not sure what else there is to say, to be honest. Like, we've almost visited every region now. I'm guessing Nordcry is like second to last, because obviously it's the... Wait, is it second to last? Maybe third to last, that stretch. So we've already visited every other elemental sort of place, and I wonder what the Archon of Nordcry is going to be like. That's probably because we won't see the, oh, what's her name? Fuck. Not the barista. What the fuck is... Why do I call her the barista? I can't remember her name. It's the one that Signora was. Is that Signora? I can't remember her name, but I'll call her Brewster anyway. The Archon of Nesnaya? Yes, Nesnaya. But yeah, we get to see her, so I think they're saving something for that. And maybe we get Nesnaya combined with Conria. Like, we don't know at this point. It's good to see that, again, the story's improving and progressing now. It took only 4 fucking years. It's like, fuck's sake. It's so dumb. one of the things that still sort of frustrates me with that, I guess, is Inazuma basically had nothing to do with the story or anything. There's nothing going on there. Inazuma just felt like a throwaway, especially given it's disconnected from the regions. I found that a bit odd. Because looking back on it, I don't know why they decided to do that. Because it made more sense to have it connected to Teyvat. Instead it's off to the side. Like, oh, okay. Great. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Genshin 5.8, 5.7. Fuck, I said it again. It's because I've changed my notes. I've updated it to 5.8. I need to do the quest actually. What's the first one? I think is it Archon? I'll just put both down and then we'll see. Yeah, let's move on to another topic. So as everyone may know, I'm watching South Park. And it's been a choice to watch so far. I will say not everything has aged well, but it certainly feels like areas have aged really well, surprisingly. And that's usually a hard thing to achieve for a show that's not necessarily old. It's like, what, 27 years old at this point? Yeah, I'd say 27. It's just crazy. It's almost on its 30th anniversary. But I'm only on season 4, having said that, so you don't know. But wow, some parts of it really ahead of its time. I think with the recent introduction of a character called Timmy in season 4, I think this might be one of the characters that has aged best, because there is not a character like this that I've seen in all my years of cartoons and media who represents a mentally handicapped person like he does. Like, that is insane. Like, there is no character like him, and that's why he is my favourite character. Because of that. And he's just a character that has so much personality and depth, despite being such a, I would say, like mentally handicapped, because he is mentally handicapped and physically. It's like he's got so much depth, and you don't see that in any sort of mentally disabled characters ever. It's actually insane in the goodest way possible, and that's why he's slowly becoming one of my favourite characters, because he's just a character that presents the disabled community and the mentally disabled community. Like, he's just absolutely incredible for that reason. There's so much love and respect to have for this character, really. But again, I've not seen a character quite like him. And you know, every time you see sort of mentally handicapped or physically disabled sort of representation, it's like literally people are mocking them, the writers rather, are mocking them and just making it out that they're less than human, essentially. Which is always sad to see, because that's obviously not what they are. It's so good to see the South Park of all fucking shows that are aged particularly well in that area. They actually have proper representation. I know we got to see someone, I can't remember his name, I think he's called Jimmy, isn't he? Jimmy and Timmy? Huh, okay. You get the guy in the crotches later on who is similar to Timmy, but not quite exactly the same. But he's also good representation as well. I think one of my favourite things about Timmy is the fact that he's actually aware. Again, there is a stereotype in other shows, like I'm guessing Family Guy's done it, I guess even Simpsons have technically done it, where everyone who's like mentally disabled, at least to the degree that Timmy is portrayed as being unintelligent and just uncaring of anything. In South Park, literally 3 episodes with Timmy being one of the main characters in it, every single time he's just been really fucking self-aware. It's actually insane. So didn't he flip someone off in one of the episodes? Maybe I'm just imagining things. That's why he's such a good character. And I'm surprised there's no other character like him. And to list the episodes, given spoilers obviously, the first one he ever appeared in, which is like, I think, 4th grade? Is that when it was? I can't remember. But he was introduced and he became sort of someone in the class. And people were sort of like, he's pretty mentally handicapped, ain't he? And then he manages to go off somewhere and go into a band as the vocalist with a Skylar, the paedophile, which is funny in some ways, but also, yeah. But that representation of him just being able to get into a band and be a vocalist is insane. One of the things I particularly liked about that episode is the fact that they just weren't always making fun of him, and you had people in that episode literally saying, this isn't fair on him, nobody should be laughing at him. And literally the moral of the story at the end was, well, you shouldn't be laughing at him, you should be laughing with him. You know, as long as he's having fun, we're having fun. And that's essentially what it is. And that's so true and relevant today. It's actually crazy. Trying to think. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, the other part. Like, Timmy doesn't always just say Timmy. That's the other thing. He has such a character that he can break away from that. And he literally said Timmy and the band name. I can't remember what the bloody band name is now. Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld. Get the thing it's called. Yeah, he literally says that, and you know, everyone notices that as well. That's just such an insanely good point. Like, wow. Huh. So, I think one of the other things with this, with the other episode, what's the other episode again? Oh yeah, they're trying to go back in time. It's when they started 4th grade, actually. They decided to go to college kids to, also getting people to help him out with mooning the teacher. That's just funny. It didn't happen, unfortunately. That would have been so good. Yeah, the fact he was like a main character in that, they used his wheelchair to try and make a time machine. And then obviously it goes wrong, and he's going down the road with this fucking time bomb essentially on his wheelchair, and they're trying to disarm it and stuff. And he picks up a fucking woman by accident, and she's like panicking, climbing all over him, flashing him for some fucking reason. And yeah, he has a reaction to that, which is amazing. It's just also great that they treat him like any other fucking person. That's the other really good thing about that representation. So he's not made to feel exclusive, he's made to feel included. That's also one of the great things about that representation. It's severely underrated in my opinion. And what else happened to the episode? You didn't really see him for the rest. I don't think. No, it was only until the end where he did appear again. Yeah. And then this other episode I just watched, I think. Yeah, another, yeah. It was the Helen Keller play, which is interesting for sure. Yeah, certainly interesting. I think it's got some great representation there. Even just in this goofy ass play. I think the thing that gets me with this one is the fact that he has against such a character that he has empathy for this random turkey. Like, it's actually crazy to me that that was the plot of this. Because the turkey is, like, obviously disabled, had its head on the ground, and Timmy decided to adopt the turkey as the one for the play. Because Helen Keller needed a turkey in this play for some reason. And that was his turkey in the end, and everyone was trying to get rid of this turkey because obviously this turkey won't perform. It won't be up to their standards. And so they bring in a performance turkey as a way to mitigate this issue. And yeah, well, they tried a few things, not other than killing, and they killed Kenny instead, which is obviously a great gimmick. Yeah, they tried killing the turkey and essentially fail, and then tries to lead Timmy away with the turkey, trying to get him to get rid of the turkey, saying that the animal shelter was about to take him, and then he finds out they're lying, and the turkey is somehow saved by a crappy slaughterhouse system. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And then what happens? He rescues the turkey somehow. He gets dropped because Jimbo and his friends are there. They're trying to kill the turkey. And then, as a way to get back, he somehow manages to communicate that he wants this other turkey killed. Which is just a brilliant twist. I fucking love that. There's also a really adorable moment with him. I forget the turkey's called Gobbles. He cuddles up with Gobbles at night, which is amazing. Yeah, Timmy, obviously one of the best characters in this so far. Stan is quite good, but Timmy is on a whole other level. Yeah, I think if you haven't seen South Park, it's obviously worth getting into. You know, you're missing out on a lot, really. Some great sense of humour, great characters as we can see. It's so interesting. Anyway, just want to talk about that really. Again, there's not really a character like that. Yeah, let's move on. So today it's quick, I finished South Park Season 3 and Season 4, and I'm really impressed, really. So it's surprising actually, because I expected a lot of this to not age well, but a lot of it did age well in the end actually. Just kind of crazy. Introduced a few more characters in Season 3, I think. They introduced Tweak and Craig. Also, this is after the movies as well, so you've got more sort of grounded characters as well. Can't remember who though. It's a weird thing. Yeah, but I think Season 4 probably introduced my favourite character of the series, obviously, as you know by me talking about it, Timmy. And yeah, changing it to grade 4 is interesting. I didn't expect a progression like that. I'm surprised I didn't remember that from back when I saw it years ago when I was a kid. Because there's so many things I remember from the show. Like, I even remember up to like the superhero stuff and the eating through the ass thing, which is apparently in Season 5, which I'm watching now. Yeah, so many different things, and some parts didn't age well, I will admit. Some of the lessons, I guess, are a bit kind of iffy here and there. I won't go into the episode that particularly... It had a good point, but it had a bad point as well. But I definitely like the episodes with Timmy. They are some of the best. And it's also just great that Timmy is such a well-written character as well. He's actually someone that has a personality, where most fucking fictional stories will write a mentally disabled person as being stupid or just unintelligent. I'm not sure if that's the term. Unintelligible. I don't know, but one of them. One of the things I do appreciate about South Park is they they're not afraid to overstep the boundary. And that's something that seems to have persisted to today, where obviously they've made all that stuff on Trump, which is incredible. And they also went into COVID as well, I think, at some point in South Park, which is interesting. Yeah, but it's just aged well. I will say that the best place to watch it is probably their own site. So you do need a VPN, and for some reason some episodes are blocked, so you have to, you know, put up the sails, as they say. So I don't know why some of them are blocked even with a VPN. That's crazy to me. I don't know why. I looked into the episodes and they're not even that controversial, so I don't even know why they're banned. They have less problems with killing Kenny than the content of these episodes, which is fucking weird. That's just insane. Yeah. Once again, South Park proving that it's still consistently funny and it can have meaningful plot lines as well. Yeah, I'm curious to see how long it actually keeps us up for. Because at the moment I'm finding that there's a lot of meh episodes in terms of season 4. Because even though the Timmy ones are great, I find some that are a bit like, not sure about that. But some haven't even, I wouldn't say aged well, but rather seen well, I guess is the term. But stuff that's based on celebrity culture and something like the South Park Civil War reenactment didn't age exactly well. Because it sort of goes into stuff about, wait, was it the episodes? But technically there's a bit in an episode anyway that didn't exactly get much of a, oh I know what this is. That was literally the opposite, I just didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Yeah, you find that in this, unfortunately. It is still a really good series. That's why I'm willing to watch it at the moment and put aside my soundtrack. I also like the 3D intro with the 3D renders of everyone. In fact, Timmy as well, it's pretty cool. I was just spoiled a fucking episode in season 5, for fuck's sake. It's the one where Mr. Garrison transitions, I remember that one. I don't know how I even saw this as a child. I'm still wondering how the fuck I found it. If I had to guess, it was like, I was on the internet a lot back then, so maybe that was it. But another part of me was like, I remember watching this on TV. I remember having DVD sets that belonged to my parents, I think. I wasn't like that young, I was like 10 or 11 I think, maybe even 12. Anyway, I'm still really enjoying South Park so far, and I'll give seasonal updates like every 2 seasons. But yeah, I still strongly recommend this so far. I'm very surprised I haven't talked about this, because I think it needs talking about, given how sort of invested in gaming and gaming communities I am, as well as kind of the developer side as well, to an extent. Not entirely, but certainly there is parts of it. I'm going to talk about one of the recent stories about this postal game that is apparently using Gen AI, and they had like one of the worst reactions to it possible, which is fucking weird. I don't exactly understand. Yeah, what the fuck is going on there? It's a weird scenario, weird situation, for sure. But once again, this thing keeps coming up about these stories where, sorry about that, let's put some anti-itching cream on because this is fucking bothering me. Where there is always an accusation of death threats. That is actually insane. The thing with death threat accusations, or what do you call them at this point, because they're not even always real. That's the thing. But they always seem to happen when there's a controversy. at this point, I'm starting to think that there are communities out there that are festering in this shit, where they're attacking other gaming communities or people within communities, like again, developers, voice actors, anything, and literally just fucking everyone. And that's their philosophy, essentially. They go around making these accusations and then obviously resort to death threats because they can't get their way. But what if this is actually part of a plan? This is something that I've been wondering myself, because with even like the news of something like in animal agriculture, there being a bunch of not necessarily organisations, but an organisation that funds the disinformation and misinformation of a plant-based lifestyle, and even things like climate change, it sort of makes disinformation about, and it completely fucks up the narrative because everyone sort of clings onto it as if that's like, yeah, something you believe. You have to believe now because someone said so. And it was often because it was funded by corporations giving essentially people money to create that misinformation and again disinformation, as well as spreading it. It's not just the creation. And for some reason, I get the feeling this is what's happening here as well. Because I don't think the developers of Postal, I don't know if it's on anyway, I don't think they're a big studio. Definitely not big enough that I haven't seen any of their games. I definitely have some on my wish list on Steam. But I do find it interesting that essentially there is a group out there literally potentially existing anyway, but just making all these death threats. So all part of this organised crime, essentially. And that is a worrying thought. I don't exactly understand why anyone would do that, but at the same time, it's just shitty to think about, really. Because it just makes you realise that people are so easily corruptible. If there's money involved, they'll fucking do it. And even then, it comes down to people just being overly fucking greedy and apathetic, which in itself is a danger, and this is the thing that governments need to understand. You get these people all the time on the internet, and surveillance won't solve that problem. You literally need to get people to do undercover work, investigative, whatever you call it, vigilantism or something, to expose these people for who they are. Weirdly enough, I know the type of person. I've met 2 people like this in my lifetime, and potentially more as well, because of how the world is. You know, unfortunately, sort of shittiness and shitification of people just spreads. It seems to be kind of common. And it's not hard to find, I don't think. And when there's a community involved, it's just kind of like, you know, there's always going to be that risk. It's always disappointing when there is essentially death threats being thrown around. Like, even back when I was young and stupid, I'm trying to think when the last time I ever gave someone a death threat was. It was like an accidental one on radio which came across as that, but it wasn't actually a death threat. And if it were, I would have admitted it. Let's be honest, I'm not a fucking dishonest person. God, that's a weird fucking sentence. Yeah. But from further back, I don't think there was really many occasions where I did. The worst, I threatened to drop a bomb on my stalker's house. And that was it. Wasn't really anything else. So yeah, it's like, this shit just seems to happen, and it just gets increasingly frustrating given, you know, everything that happens with this is always the fucking death threats that get highlighted. But then we have to ask ourselves why. Why are we putting a spotlight on this in particular? Because this only serves to fuel them. They get the attention. Like, oh yeah, I did that. I did that death threat. Like, people act as if they're proud of these things. There's even people who defend, by the way, sort of like a similar fucking situation, who defend Epstein and Trump. And they even go into the comment section saying, like, what, it's just a fucking 8-year-old girl? Like, why can't you sexualise her? That's literally what they say. And yeah, obviously people respond to that, which is good. But that's obviously there for attention. So too much response is bad. It gives them that fuel to do that. It's just shitty. That's literally what happens here. It's the same sort of thing. It's threatening someone's life, which that is, literally. And it's just doing something inherently evil. And most likely for the sake of greed as well. So who's to say that a comment like that, again with Epstein or Trump, isn't funded by some inherent greed where somehow, obviously Epstein is alive at this point, we all know that, but he's funding bots and AI to spread this absolute fucking cancer in the world where either we oppress every woman or little child there is in the world, or they get the little little children and women, literally. But it's entirely to do with oppression and greed. And because of that, I think the more attention that gets, the worse it will be for everyone involved. It's not just, obviously, women and children, it's just the people who are greedy themselves. Because there's nobody fighting against that, you sort of lose. But at the same time, giving that attention that in the way that people do it anyway, it's probably going to be a bad thing. So it's kind of hard to balance that out. So yeah, the thing with death threats, so if it's a fucking text message, unless it's like a letter or something you get physically, I just wouldn't bother. I don't really fucking give a shit. Or unless it has personal details, but that's another thing entirely. It's not worth worrying about at that point. And honestly, when you get physical threats, that's when you sort of get sort of lenience. Is that the term, lenience? I don't know, but you get the authority to act on it, to fight back. You know, I know some self-defense methods myself that don't involve even physical contact, and that in itself is knowledge worth having for people who are like breaking in or threatening you. There are many different scenarios where that can just sort of just work in a sense. Trying to think. So trying to think if there's anything else I can add to this really. But it's just my theory really on death threat conspiracies, like how they come to be, how they exist, why they exist for that matter. I think it's just people really pissed off and greedy. Those are the only two scenarios. Yeah. So that's all I have to say on this, I think. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from this topic. It's just stupidly frustrating at this point, but for some reason, another fucking PokeTuber just gone insane. Responding to comments about the sort of criticisms about Pokemon Legends EA, but also just praising it. Like literally just constant praise for it. And it's just frustrating to see because it's not even a hard argument to even understand and wrap your head around. Pokemon Legends EA is obviously flawed. Everyone knows this by this point. I think if you don't, you need to go and educate yourself because it's not acceptable. Jesus Christ. It's just unbelievable how bad it is. But the thing that gets me with this entire conversation, I suppose, just the fact that nobody seems to get that paying for these games makes them worse. It's nothing to do with the enjoyment of the game. It's just the fact that you pay for it and you support more crap. It's just the most obvious thing to me. I remember when Saints Row came out, the reboot, just because, you know, it was already going sort of a weird direction with Saints Row 4 and Get Out of Hell. And when I found out 3 years later they were making a reboot in like 8 years, but quite a few years anyway, I was quite excited to hear it first. And then when the first trailer came out of Saints Row reboot, I was just turned off it immediately. Because this is not what Saints Row was about. At all. It just felt like being spat in the face, essentially. Told, well, this is your Saints Row, that's what you wanted. Even though it's not what I wanted at all. It's just like making shit up, and this is the situation here. Again. And I was so fucking fed up of having to argue this every time. I didn't even buy Saints Row reboot. I knew from the trailers and the small bits of gameplay alone that it was just so unfinished, unpolished, and just not very Saints Row-y, for lack of a better term. It just wasn't the game that I grew up playing. Either Saints Row 2 or the third, it's just not the same game. So as a result, I was just like, nah. Yeah, fuck this game, I'm not supporting it. And so I didn't. I did a similar thing with Just Cause 4, when I found that Just Cause 3 was alright as a game. Certainly enjoyable in areas, but also frustrating in others. I didn't support Just Cause 4 because of that. Because on top of the third game being buggy mess, at least on launch, it still has performance issues. When they started teasing the fourth game, I saw it and I thought, you know what, this is crap. This just isn't what I wanted. So I just immediately stopped my support for that game. Just out of rebellion and just outrage. Because it's not the sort of game I want to play. Like with, again, some of the later Saints Row games, I could appreciate that they're experimenting. And that's something I can accept. It's not that I'm asking for games to be the same as the ones I enjoyed. In fact, Doom Eternal basically was a game that came out of nowhere for me that I ended up falling in love with. Because I played 2016 and I didn't like it. And then when Doom Eternal came out and I tried that for the first time, I was like, wow, that's some of the best gameplay of a first-person shooter I think I've ever had. And this is coming from someone who played Overwatch. It's actually that fun. But not everyone was on board with that. So you got like opposing sides with that, which is frustrating. Because it is objectively a better game, it's more fast-paced, certainly more involved as well. You've got to do a lot more. But for some reason people didn't like that aspect, and they've sort of reverted to that with the recent game, Doom the Dark Ages. My main frustration with something like Pokemon is that I went from playing the Gen 6 games on the 3DS to Nintendo Switch, and when the first Nintendo Switch core game came out, Sword and Shield, I was just immediately disappointed with so many aspects of it. Even though it certainly was enjoyable to play. To see, it was miserable. Because it was everything wrong with gaming, essentially. Like the animations, the crappy visuals. Even though they added the aspect where you can see Pokemon, which is cool, it didn't exactly improve the fact that it had terrible textures, it had terrible animation, obviously. But also a terrible story. That was the other thing. I could appreciate the story took a different turn than it usually does, but it wasn't good still. And just all that embarrassing animation just made it worse than it actually is. I still remember it's now a meme really, the fucking dog turning. That dog Pokemon, for fuck's sake. The way they animated it, it's embarrassing. But I don't know. Yeah, I've been observing it, as obviously everyone has, for the most part anyway. Been watching as they released the DLC and that got somewhat well received, but still not great. And I tried it myself later and that was it. I noticed no improvement. I said, you know what, fuck this. There's no point. So I never supported a Pokemon game again. I saw the Legends Arceus gameplay and stuff, and the just everything out of, and the visuals were embarrassing again. Gameplay wise, it looked decent, but the visuals looked embarrassing as fuck. So that was a sour taste in my mouth for sure. And luckily I never bought it. And then Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out. Same situation. In fact, the visuals were so embarrassing that I think a lot of people just decided not to play it. And to no surprise anyway. Because, yeah, like, if you're a company that big, raking in billions of dollars, what the fuck are you doing with that money that you can't be put into the game to improve it? It just doesn't make any sense. So every time I see that someone has purchased the game, nothing wrong with pirating at this point, but every time I see someone purchase it, like, why the fuck are you doing that? Because it's not going to fix the game. And this is the third time it's happened, by the way. Not a third time's a charm. It's the third time it's fucked up. And it's done so majorly. So I just don't understand where this comes from. And also it's just very jarring. I remember seeing people playing it and just all the static animations and the fucking terrible textures popping in and everything. It was just awful, and I remember the Switch 2 upgrades. I remember people looking into that, and it had barely any difference. Like, literally, so little of a fucking difference that you can literally put them side by side and still make out that they're the same game. Even if you took away the fucking, whatever it is, titles, the caption. It's just embarrassing constantly. Then Legends ZA came out recently, and that's been an embarrassment in of its own. Certainly gameplay wise it's different. I do like that aspect myself. Although not playing it, I've seen it being played. But the visuals are, once again, an absolute fucking embarrassment. It's just atrocious. Even though battles look better here, it's still really bad. And then you've also got to consider the fact that there's still no voice acting. So there's an embarrassing moment with just the fact that it's just so underbaked. And yet people are still supporting it, saying, oh, it's a good game, it's fun. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't matter how fun it is, it just looks shit. And admittedly, games shouldn't be based on appearance. That should never be the priority, at all. There are plenty of games out there that do a lot with, obviously lacking visuals or just simple ones. So you've got Undertale, you've got Deltarune, you've got Celeste, which I haven't really played myself. Trying to think of others, like Sonic Mania is like a recent game that's made by fans, and that has a visual style that just works really well because it's pixel art, and people don't mind that because it is pixel art in the end. Nobody minds that sort of thing. And there's a reason for that graphic anyway. And I'm not going to criticise it because obviously that was the entire point of it. To go back to basics and sort of have that. I think if games were transparent about the graphics they were using, like if they made Pokemon instead of trying to make it high quality of all the models and stuff, if they made it low poly again, I wouldn't actually mind. You know, as long as it meant that they could improve other aspects and also were transparent about it, I just wouldn't mind. A low poly Pokemon with every single Pokemon in it would be such a good idea. And it even goes without saying 2D animation as well. It would definitely do well if it was actually sticking to that. So again, going back to the topic really, it's about criticising the game and boycotting it so that it can improve. But as it currently stands, you've got people like this unnamed PokeTuber who just completely ignore the criticisms, ignore the fact that they haven't actually answered about boycotting these games, just over the lackluster presentation. It's just ridiculous. And then you have to refer to a game like Digimon because they've actually done what Game Freak are not doing. They've made a game that's supposedly anyway finished. It's got decent graphics, it's got voice acting. And yet, for some reason, it's the Pokemon fans who are wrong. Like, fucking hell. Imagine having someone who's never played a Pokemon game going from something like, I don't know, trying to think of another sort of collecting game. You don't really have any. But maybe a game with better graphics, like Zelda. Let's just go with Legend of Zelda. But any of those sort of games on Switch, and then going into Pokemon. Like, imagine the fucking embarrassment to be felt when you see those graphics for the first time. Jesus Christ, it is terrible. And that's really why you need to boycott this crap. Why I haven't bought a Pokemon game since Sword and Shield. And there's just no point. They're not improving it visually and they're making an embarrassment for themselves. And it's just a cash grab. That's the other thing that's really important to highlight. It is just another cash grab. They're not sticking to a philosophy where they can actually make the best game possible, which is what Gen 6 games felt like, and even Gen 7. They're actually just fucking it up and going with this philosophy where they have to release it by a certain date. And it runs with this leak with the roadmaps, which I talked about briefly as well. And it's quite obvious from the roadmaps that they're not given enough time. I don't even know if they're given enough money for that matter. Also, it becomes incomplete. And given they haven't already sort of fixed their own fucking game engine so that you can actually see what the textures are. Like, come on. It's just absurd at this point. I don't know what it's going to even take to get people to realise that these Pokemon games are greedy, and Pokemon didn't used to have DLC, I don't think. I don't recall there being any for the Gen 6 games, 3DS era. Seems to have been a thing in the Switch era. And they're making this DLC with no fucking, I want to say sustenance, isn't it? Can't remember the term. But just quantity, and there isn't really any quality to it. And that's been apparent since Sword and Shield. So I don't really know what to say. I've said all I can about this topic. And the fact people don't listen is more proof that this franchise is just gonna burst at some point. It's gonna just rupture. And there just won't be anything left because it's so devastating of an impact. But yeah, the warning signs were there. I think people were being warned about this, and there's not much else we can do. That's something that will happen for sure. Anyway, I better move on. So a streamer I've been watching for a few years now recently implemented something I only just noticed, but I don't know if it existed before. It has me sort of interested because I wasn't expecting it. But it's such a cool feature as someone with audio sensitivity that it just works, and I'm wondering how you can even get that to work. Well, I need this myself, to be honest. But the streamer has to say it outright is using some sort of limiter to basically have any peaked audio be lowered in volume. But what makes that so cool is the fact that it just works, and you hear it multiple times where they almost sound like they're gonna scream or something. But obviously I'm more sensitive to that sort of volume and that pitch as well, unfortunately. And it turns out this thing works fine. I don't know what's it exactly doing. It's the type of limiter, I guess, but I could be wrong on that. But it's just fascinating to hear. Like, someone's finally done it. And you know, given how bad mic quality can be when it's like peaking like that as well, it's actually not a bad idea to do just anyway, passively. It's perfect for streamers who are like prone to not just being obviously loud or obviously high pitched in this case, unfortunately. I don't think anyone can change that though, so I can't hold that against anyone. But it's perfect for people like that. Even just like just any other sort of streamer, I guess. It's such a good idea to do, actually. So I hope people take that on board, because I don't know if there is like a feature on the Twitch extensions. There was supposedly one. Actually, I got it right here because it doesn't unload itself. Frankisy, what is it? Audio compressor. That's it. It doesn't work. In most cases, it just increases the volume and doesn't do anything for the peaking audio, which is it goes counter to what I want it to fucking do. I want it to literally quiet the fucking noises and everything, quiet the peaking audio. That's the main thing for me. It's not so much obviously the frequencies I hear. It's just the audio. And that's it, really. It just sucks that there isn't any sort of feature like that anyway, that's mainstream at least. Yeah, but it's cool though. It's cool to see this actually being done. So it does exist, which is good to know. Just hope that people start to take note of this. Anyway, better move on to the next topic. Well, this topic is unexpected, but maybe expected as well? Question mark? Given my surprise about how well South Park had aged in the 60 plus episodes I've seen by now. Maybe it's 70. 60, 70? But it's such a interesting series for that reason. And I just finished the one with Osama bin Laden, which was brilliant. I actually think it was very good. I don't think it aged that poorly, given the context of it, and I don't really know enough about whatever happened in Afghanistan when I was a kid, when all this was happening in this ad as well. So I can't really put my own sort of testimony on that sort of thing. But it's a weird case that one of the next episodes in that series, let me see actually what it was. Yeah, literally in the next episode, episode 10, which I thought was actually something else. It says how to eat with your butt, but there is an episode where that does happen. But that's not the episode. This isn't the episode, rather, that that has, in fact, it's something completely different. It's like a stupid fucking joke at the beginning, and this is why I'm saying it's one of the worst episodes I've ever seen, not just of South Park, but TV in general. And it's just, it fails so many things. Like, I can't even remember the B plot as well. Like, the A plot was its own thing, but the B plot was there. But this A plot just, oh god, it is so bad. So I have to explain what the episode's about, obviously. So at the beginning, it's like this photography thing that all kids do. Basically, I remember having mine done. You do that for like an image for your parents or whatever, or the schoolwork or whatever. It depends. It's various reasons. And Kenny decided to get into his Parker in backwards. He got into it backwards, which is interesting, for sure. And he did this for his photograph, and at the beginning it sort of made out that he was going to get in trouble for this, but he didn't. And obviously, because he's in it backwards, it's also showing out the hood end. So that's basically the picture that they got. And, you know, it's kind of funny at first. And Cartman's laughing his arse off at it. Like, great, okay. And it gets annoying. As he probably would with Cartman being around, like, fuck you. Like, there's probably no kid I want to beat up in the world more than Eric Cartman. Which I guess to show how well the shitty character he is. Just how well written. Anyway. Yeah, so the episode continues, obviously, and Cartman, for a joke, decides to put it on a milk carton as a lost child thing. And that already is leaving me with eyebrows raised, because I'm thinking, like, what? That's fucking cruel. Not just to people, like, obviously this not really a milk companies don't give a shit. Ironically, that sort of aged well, the way they sort of portrayed that, but yeah, just putting that as a missing child in place of another one is just, that's inherently cruel. Also, the killing Robert Tenner episode was a bit weird. I found that one very odd too. It's very dark. Wasn't expecting that at all from South Park of all things. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, this episode, it's just made light of a sad note, which is, I don't know, is it distasteful given it's South Park? I'm not sure entirely, but my enjoyment for the episode definitely wasn't that high anyway, given the things that started it anyway. Yeah, so it goes on to get the thing on the milk carton. It turns out there is a family with asses for a face. And then it gets weirder and weirder as the episode goes on. Some jokes here and there which are okay. I'd say they're the best ones. And the ass couple have a missing child. And so they take out this missing thing and find out that, well, actually they're trying to find the child. That's what's happening here. I'm getting distracted by something. And they have to figure out who's made this, and it turns out it's Eric, unsurprisingly. And because Eric's put this out there, they're contacting him and then going back and forth, and it turns out the parents are going to his place to see him. And when Eric goes to the door, he's not laughing anymore, because it's no longer funny, seemingly. But then Stan and Carl start laughing, finding that the fact that the parents are there is funny, even though they said that this is wrong. They said that it's wrong to laugh at parents who are missing their child, as it is, literally. So they end up doing a fucking U-turn there, which is crazy. What happens? They go to Kenny's, and then there's this whole joke about how when they cry, they fart at the same time through their face things, face butts, whatever you call them at split. It's because of a genetic condition, which they explained. And yeah, they're still trying to find their child. at the end. Still. And yeah, it turns out Cartman's that's the B plot actually. Cartman, it's technically Butters, but Butters was another thing, sort of a joke for having a bad photo. Yeah, Eric's trying to find out what happened to his funny bone essentially, because he can't figure out why he's not laughing anymore, and he can't figure it out right until the end, where he does figure out what it was, kind of. And yeah, it's another bad part of the episode. But they're still finding the child, and there's like a bunch of technology going through the milk company and stuff again. Still finding their child, and it turns out they found them. And admittedly, it ended on a funny sort of joke a little bit. Admittedly, I don't understand pop culture that much, so I don't know exactly the reference, but it turns out the child is Ben Affleck. And then Mr. Garrison comments that they can see the resemblance. But yeah, like, I don't know about this episode really. It's bad. It's just very bad. Because I don't find it overall that funny. Maybe a British thing, but I don't know. Like, my British sense of humour is quite twisted by, you know, shows like Father Ted, which actually, weirdly enough, there's some parallels between Father Ted and South Park. Never really thought about that, but there is. Yeah, there's definitely shows out there like that as well in the UK. The young one's quite fucking crazy for what it was. Definitely kind of a lot of parallels there. It's just, I don't find this sort of humour funny, like horse humour. Although Mr. Hankey, again, like, not a funny thing in my opinion, but it can be comedic if done well, like shit in your mouth, literally. I did find those jokes funny. It's just clever jokes as well, that's what that is, but this one, like, oh, it's just her face, it's like, I don't know, it's creativity 101, but it's like one of the least creative things in my opinion. And it just ended on such a sort of silly note anyway. I don't mind them, but the fact this entire episode was just making fun of, again, someone's appearance, just, yeah, it does rub me the wrong way. Especially given how good the representation is. I'm not saying that arse people exist. I think this face is a genetic condition. When I say arse people, it's what I'm referring to. It's not derogatory or discriminative, just to be clear. And it just feels like it's in such bad taste, given there are people with conditions that do fuck up their faces. The fuck, have you seen the monster gas victim? I think most people have seen that image. Like, that's it's horrifying to know that someone's gone through that. But I think you do come to accept people's appearances in the end, regardless of how they look. And yeah, the episode didn't end on any sort of, well, I've learned something today. It's just like, oh yeah, fuck arse-faced people. It just wasn't that good. And honestly, this is an episode you could skip. I could safely say that. That's for sure. I didn't even get many notes for this one. I'll have a look. So episode 10. Yeah, episode 10. So let me start seeing my review notes. Yeah, episode 10. Yeah. Not really sure. Well, I had some notes here. They gave me the wide small thing at the beginning, was kind of funny. So you think it's, oh yeah, when you think it's fun, for your picture of Butters. Yeah. Some reason I remember this episode as a child. I don't know how the fuck I even saw these episodes. It's so weird. I can't remember, I screwed up. Carry on, it's fun son. Yeah, just not that enjoyable compared to others. Even the next one wasn't great, but it's better than this. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that's the worst South Park episode so far. I think I need to expand on this, but why do I consider myself not an artist? And probably at this point not even a musician. I think it's important to answer that, because I think one of the things that makes you a musician or artist is really based upon how educated you are and how successful you are. I think I either work and have worked with people for God knows how long, centuries. And the thing I was thinking about recently when looking back on my own music and even some of my artwork is that I'm never good enough to even consider myself to be at that point. I literally feel useless in that sense. Again, it sort of goes back to some of my confidence issues where about 3 years ago maybe, I think it was probably at least, no, I'd say like 5 years ago at a stretch. But I used to be very down and very hard on myself. And that wasn't really out of just anything else. People are saying it's for attention, but I can guarantee you it's not. I would have admitted to it if it was. But it's mainly that I just didn't feel happy with what I was saying, what I was making, that matter not saying. And it just frustrated me when I made something or attempted to, and it came out the opposite of what I wanted it to be. I've rarely ever made something that's come out properly, and even my recent artwork called Pokemon Village, there was a comment on it but no views for some reason, so I'm not sure what the fuck that's about. But I've found even this artwork to be very kind of bad, very useless for that matter. It isn't great. There are aspects of it I do like. I think I put a lot of effort into it and a lot of time into it as well, for that matter. But I still didn't end up liking it. And I referred to myself in that video realising, okay, I just need to stop calling myself an artist because I'm not. I started to realise that I shouldn't be saying these things about myself. I'm definitely not an artist for that matter. And I think that I don't think I could ever be. And that's not a stretch at all, because I've taken in advice, I've learned everything I can about it, and it just hasn't worked. Everything I've tried to learn about arts, and specifically like the anime art style, it's just never worked. I've tried like sketches, like people say, I've tried drawing in shapes, like people say. It doesn't work, and this is specifically for character drawing. When it comes to backgrounds, which I've done for probably a bit longer than character drawings at this point, I'm still not good at it. And I've never made anything I was ever really that happy with. Even some of my biggest pieces, like probably this one actually, Pokemon Village, but also something else. People saying Fireworks at 6:30. That has to be a type of terrorism, I don't know. Yeah. That's weird. Jesus Christ, I just can't wrap my head around why I can't improve. Because every single fucking person I come across that says practice makes perfect, it just does not seem to understand that that's what I've been doing. I've been practicing art daily for over 5 years now, at least. I've been practicing music pretty much for 8 years now, other than the guitar, which has been much longer, about 10 years. I've been doing music for, again, 7, 8 years maybe. So, really, I don't think the issue is practice. It's kind of stupid to say this at this point. There is no such thing as practice makes perfect, because you can't ever be perfect. And that's such an important part of art, I think, is that people expect that you can practice until you get good enough at something, and that just isn't true, at least not for everyone. It can be true for some, but not for others. I'm certainly part of the latter there. It just frustrates me when people are saying that the reason I'm not so good at anything is because I don't learn, I don't practice, I don't even have confidence in myself. Like, you see how fucking long it takes me to draw something? Are you kidding me? This is why I literally took to finding models and stuff to pose and then draw over them. That's where I started doing character drawings, and honestly I look better when I use the models. But there's still an issue there where people seem to think that it's fine, even though I know it's not right. Yeah, at least the artwork itself, when it's complete, people say it's good, and I see it and I see the flaws, I see how off-putting it is. It just doesn't work, it doesn't look right. And given that I'm diagnosed with OCD and panic disorder, and also been diagnosed with autism since childhood, and diagnosed again in adulthood with a specific type called PDD, it makes sense to basically pin it on that and give me some sort of, I guess, leeway into all that, really. So really there's room for something even like AI, which I don't even agree with at this point. But there's a reason why I might be able to use it if it gets regulated. I'm waiting for it to get regulated before I can consider it. Because I fucking hate AI at the moment. But I'm not looking for it to do my work for me. I'm looking for it to give me the solution to the specific problems I have. So in my case, drawing. I don't have an issue with colouring or shading, but I cannot do drawing at all. So for me, it's going to just be the outline of something, which is why I essentially resort to tracing. That's why I come back to that. And the only thing is, with music, I'm at least more refined in that because I've had more years of experience and self-learning. That's because I've taught myself for most of music, at least thanks to Rocksmith and even just playing around with tabs and stuff, that I've actually learned how to make music. And I've only learned a few lessons from music. I think I've only learned symphonic metal mixing and guitar, obviously. There's another one, drumming, that was it. I learned how to sort of make drums in a digital audio workstation when I don't own drums. So I've certainly learned things from others, but most of it is self-taught. And the same can be said with artwork. Whenever I've looked for tutorials in artwork, I'd never get any fucking advice, I never get any lessons. And the ones I have do not apply to the thing that I'm making. Like, I'm looking for an anime picture, how do you draw sort of a cute character? How do you draw that? And I go into, you can refer to like my Sonic, with enough Sonic Heroes cover of Mystic Mansion where I drew that. And it's like an early example. I made my own sort of spin-offy sort of type of that. I drew Tails and Cream, Haunted Mansion. Yeah, I sort of drew them in my sort of style, and there's no tutorials for that. That's the thing. Sometimes you want to draw it in a specific way, and admittedly this is how you find your own style. But for some reason, there aren't tutorials for all that sort of thing, and no tutorial ever suggests about finding a style by finding first the things that you really like about artwork, like style or colouring, and then trying to mimic that. That's what I did with music, and it worked out great. I think I've said everything I can about at least artwork. For some reason my voice disappeared there. That was weird. That was creepy. It scares me. Anyway, I think I ought to move on. Because, yeah. Move on from the topic, but I just will say, I'll end this with, I can't ever call myself an artist. I think that's just false. I don't think I'll ever be an artist. It's not, again, from a place of lacking confidence. I think no matter what, I will always find something good in my own artwork, but I'll always find something bad as well. And that's not a confidence thing, that's just being honest. And people should really know the fucking difference at this point. I don't know why I'm telling you that, because you should have figured that out. Yeah, it's a situation. I am not an artist or musician. I practice it, but I'm not one. So my New Year's was a bit fucking weird. It was both Eve and the day. I was planning to go for exercise tomorrow. Not tomorrow, yesterday. Fuck. Tomorrow, yesterday. But it didn't happen because people are just incompetent where I live. I don't know what it is. It just seems like people here don't really help. And at this point I'm just willing to get any way I can do exercise in the comfort of my own seat at this point. That's literally it. And I think that's the only option for me. But because that didn't happen, I ended up having a sort of miserable night. Because it turns out exercise does help me sleep to an extent. So because of that, I struggled. And to go through the night anyway from start, as you probably heard, there's fucking fireworks at like 6 o'clock in the evening. So what the fuck is going on there? And it seemed like every hour, like forward, because I put on my noise cancelling mode, and also, yeah, I did try to hear out every now and then so I could turn it off. But every hour or so, they'd set off another set of fucking fireworks. What the hell are these people doing? I literally wrote this all down. Because I have a journal of this as well. Let's see. So I'll just lose it down as doing, okay. So, yeah, 6:15, 7:15, 9:15, almost 10:15. Pretty sure I heard some at 11:30 as well. And maybe 8:30, but I didn't have my... No, I have my noise cancelling on, that's probably why. Like, what the fuck is going on? What's changed to make people be this stupid? Not to mention why people are celebrating such a stupid tradition anyway. Because it is stupid. I was thinking about this last night as well, whilst I was kept awake by the fucking noise, even though I had noise cancelling on when I was going to bed. It barely helped, because the ones that were close by, I could still fucking hear. I literally remember I was falling asleep, and then it's like 12:15, 12, 0:15, don't know what you call it. It's literally that time. Yeah, eyes closed, almost falling asleep, and all of a sudden I saw these black and white lines in my fucking vision. I don't know why that happens when I get made jump, and someone was setting off fireworks literally right next to my fucking house. Okay. Like, it is so dumb of a tradition. Not to mention probably dangerous as well. So I don't know where that seemed coming from. I was just so fucking pissed off about it. But I guess the reason why fireworks as a tradition is dumb is because it's selfish. You're literally just putting sparkly things into the fucking sky with the loudest fucking noise. Which isn't even a good trade-off, by the way, because it kills people, it kills animals. And it just does nothing. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it just disrupts everything as well, like, not to mention people have to go to fucking work the next day. Admittedly, they shouldn't have work hours based on obviously this being the New Year's Day, so they should have work hours that are like 2 or 3 hours ahead. So 1, people have got time to sleep, 2, people have got time to recover, and 3, we can avoid this fucking bullshit with fireworks every year. That way people can stay up and keep to it unless they're medicated, which is another problem, which is why I don't like fireworks. I was on medication at one point, taking it at regular times, and every single year, even on this medication where it made me sleepy, I was woken up by fireworks. Great. So, if you didn't have enough reason to hate fireworks, there you go. But I just don't get the tradition. Like, we're evolving as a species, and technology's getting better, obviously. But why is it that we're not celebrating in other ways? I prefer consistently loud music over fireworks, weirdly enough. Because fireworks are just disruptive, but loud music, if I can block it out, is good. I don't really mind that, because noise cancelling is actually quite effective. I actually found out it was blocking out the talking of my housemates, which is good, because I took them off briefly to check. For some stupid reason, I don't know why I do that, to be honest. But it does block out the noise that my housemates make, which is definitely reassuring. So it's good to know, because I was a bit worried about that initially. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other reason that fireworks just need to go anyway, and we need to just move towards other things. Like, fuck, what is wrong with just playing a board game? Why is one just playing video games? I remember one New Year's, what was it, New Year's Day? It's like my first year of college, and I was literally playing GTA Online with my best friend from school. And because that was a popular game at the time, I also got it on PlayStation 3, weirdly enough. It is weird. So I had it on all 3 systems at the time, like PlayStation, Xbox and PC. And I think I used the same account. It's actually my mum's account. It's kind of funny actually. I had a sort of cool name though. I can't remember. I don't want to leak it anyway. It's not a name that was chosen. It's just randomly generated. Yeah, I remember playing that, and I was just like sitting there, just enjoying the online interaction, and about 0:15, it's just suddenly like, oh, wait, it's New Year's, because I somehow didn't hear any fireworks. It's like one of the most bizarre things to fucking happen on a New Year's. That's crazy. But yeah, I just remember sitting there with talking. It's like, oh, Happy New Year. It's like, oh yeah, Happy New Year. It's just so fucking stupid, but that sort of interaction is funny. Yeah, I just sort of miss those simpler times where you just play an online game throughout the New Year. And that's sort of the way to celebrate, to be honest. But yeah, honestly not a great start to the year, I don't think. And I should talk about 2025 as well, what that's done for me. It's been a disaster, honestly. I don't think there was really any good to it. I'm trying to think of anything good that happened other than quick HYPERSKY games, but even then, Final Fantasy XIV is no spring popoto. No, chicken. Chicken, isn't it? The fuck is a spring chicken? How? Don't know why. I've only just thought about that. Huh. Anyway, the chicken's spricking. Yeah, it's not really that. It just kind of lacks in areas, and honestly, again, I feel like if I was ever put in charge of a game, I would not make half of these decisions. I'd think they're fucking stupid. I think they completely ruin the game. So that's where I end up with that, really. Yeah, trying to think of anything else. 2024, I stopped medication, I stopped alcohol, and I still started a new series, I started my original music. Yeah, I don't know if much else really happened. I did experience a lot of burnout and suffer with it because people just don't seem to give a shit anymore, which is great. As if life was bad enough, fucking hell. So I got to take my medication today, Jesus. I thought I'd start the year with that, but it's weird because the medication doesn't feel like it's working. This is also the year that I increased the intake. It's for my Crohn's disease and it's supposed to reduce the inflammation, but it hasn't. And in fact, I've had inflammation in the last few weeks. So I don't know what the fuck that's about. It just doesn't ring good for me at all. You know, I'm pretty tired of it, to be honest. I just want this to be fucking over with. I want to just be happy and have like no fucking pain. It's just stupid. Anyway, that's 2025. And we'll see now 2026. This outro. Thanks for listening.